time, but it's the Australian
behind him on the third row. The great Quattararo came through the first sector.
Jack Miller got the dream launch from second on the grid. It's an old Ducati twins there as well.
Sensational start from Taka Nakagami. He's just been
Bagnaia and Juan Mir. He was second going in to Nakagami into turn number 12. Nakagami inside the room was there. Quattararo got picked up over the
bike up. He's now coming back through, and Sarko's having to go at the pair of
start as well. Fabio Quattararo does not need this. It's getting, I think it was with Johan Zarco, wasn't it? Directly ahead of him going through La Chapelle. Some places to Bagnaia and to Rins as well.
Who was hoping for a better start from that brand new carbon clutch. He didn't exactly. He's nearly 3 seconds off the lead.
Aleix Espargaro's Ferris back at the front now. There is Juan Mir ahead of Aprilia up to top gear, 6th gear, well over 300 down. Alex Rins, well, we saw big moments at 300 kilometers an hour. How scary was that? Oh, that was
that the riders miss it.
Yeah, it's snake left, it's snake right. So they're now back at the front. Jack Miller and Pekka Bella under immense pressure. He led for so long, didn't he, in the Austin round?
Has just passed Marc Marquez. You can see him at the back of the screen. Quattararo's 3.2 seconds behind this Ducati train at the front.
Joined the race somehow on that factory Suzuki. How has he regained this? The move. Miller, was he out wide going through the museum corner or garage fair? It's a factory Ducati 1-2. Bagnaia from
his miserable weekend. He was praying for some pretty extreme weather today.
No, unfortunately, that's been a big one for him. He needs the assistance of the track ahead of him. He is in such complete control, going all guns blazing to get back through on Pekka Bagnaia.
He'll get himself up the inside there as they go to the museum. They were still side by side as they...
Miller would have been a little bit apprehensive to have got the power down as quickly as Bagnaia on the almost half a second already as he comes through the second sector. The two factory Ducati men as they come into turns 9 and 10, but just over 0.4 of a second. Now it's Quattararo then. Still
off a long way to go. 27 laps of this Grand Prix is though the only rider on track at the moment in the 131s.
Frustrating about the start and then those first couple of laps, because all weekend previous lap, as Lewis mentioned, has he already though lost to the Chartres Grand Prix? Franch, well, big moment there. Something's happening to Aleix Espargaro. Is another mistake.
Quattararo needs as he now goes wide through the Shimano berth. That's going to cost
Quattararo was just caught by surprise about how slow Aleix Espargaro was on the time out in Jerez, and then that big scare
that he gained. He lost back again with that moment up behind Aleix.
The reason why it's got even worse for Herbert. Turn 6, which is a fast crash around this Bugatti. So leads the way as we come to complete lap number 7 in rounds. Just set his personal best lap of the Grand Prix, 1:32.18.
That time round in the 131s. Fabio Quattararo.
More yellow flags out briefly there in the first 2 sectors. So then, conditions about struggling to manage that front tyre. There have been 3 4th places and 3 6th places, just 6 points clear of Aleix Espargaro group.
Juan Mir lost half a second in the third set. Twos. Quattararo once again, this time the faster of them. As you can see, is now closing right in on the back of Juan Mir. He looks at the...
Yeah, just wanted to point something out when Brad Binder lost that wing, large wing on there, and he said at Jerez it was a ton. The bike comes down on an angle and gets really unstable.
Turn 6. And there you can see the leaker was top 10 with his rear ride-eye device engaged.
The gap is less than 0.2 of a second, but you can see how close the beast is. Comes past you. Bastianini saw off him with good pace late in the Grand
Text where he led for so long, he knew the move was coming from an old contrasting riding style to manage the tyres. That's why Jack Miller did such an amazing job. We're about to chalk off another lap here. Lap 10 done, and Mir just desperately trying to hang in to this podium.
Johan Zarco running in 8th position. We saw him a moment ago.
Safely in Motogp. It's really difficult just to get along. Mir, Aleix Espargaro and Quattararo to find a way through.
Around both Mir, Aleix Espargaro and Fabio Quattararo cuts at the Dunlop chicane. One wonders whether Alex Marquez has fucking
that Pekka Bagnaia was a little bit offline, a little bit wide. Here it comes. You know what's happening here. And Bastianini has come then into turn number 8 at Garage Fair. Jack Miller will not really got in terms of his race pace and a victory charge.
Aleix Espargaro and Fabio Quattararo are visibly closer. 12, Bagnaia's lead. His pace hasn't really fluctuated. Another third with him. And Johan Zarco once again another personal best. He's the fastest.
There is Marc Marquez again fighting contender, isn't he, this year for Yamaha with Franco Morbidelli, who ran Yamaha B without the skills and the talents of Fabio Quattararo.
10th back on Pekka Bagnaia out front, but it's up ahead of him. There's a great battle going on further back amongst the factory kids. Yeah, we got all the fringes of the top 10.
The thing as well, Lewis, is the gap, whether they are thinking about managing that front tyre pressure, pressure does go up. Back on board with the shoulder cam. What do you first saw the shoulder cam in action on Friday in through La Chapelle? What's the gap between Aleix Espargaro and Quattararo?
Past half distance now in this Grand Prix, so Quattararo, if he is trending much of the Jerez Grand Prix, staring at the back of a Ducati. This Grand Prix, of course, there would only be a point pulled back by Aleix Espargaro.
The result here in Le Mans, that was Noriyuki Haga, the samurai. Post-race in Jerez at the Hamamatsu factory in 10 weekends so far, and Joan Mir goes down.
Up into fourth position, then Fabio Quattararo now, Miller and Aleix Espargaro. Now that they've got a little bit of empty tarmac ahead of them, can he now close the gap to this trio of Ducatis out front? To the top six, he's still got Joan Zarco on. Goes Rins around the outside. Quattararo then got boxed in, two around the outside, but a little bit of an optimistic move into lost on the opening lap of the Grand Prix for the world champion.
Just wasn't. Well, now then Bagnaia and Bastianini here are just starting to sector 4. Aleix Espargaro is just over one. Then runs wide at La Chapelle. You can hear what the penalty for impeding Pol Espargaro at the end of Q2. He places on the grid, and when everybody can launch off the line, we come now into turns 11 and 12.
On your screen, Martin not getting the point.
A fire extinguisher.
Shimano both.
So the challenger's just not got going at all, has it? Jorge Martin. Better days will be on the horizon for him.
At the end of Grand Prix, when we see him up behind, of course, cast your minds back to the Austin Grand Prix, as Matt mentioned. Grand Prix, he did opt for the medium front tyre.
Number 9, the front top turning, it went very, very early, didn't it? Down and out again for his fourth DNF in the open. The beast to prevail. Pecco Bagnaia looked in the shape of Enea Bastianini.
And a couple of key differences. One, Ducati certainly is well and truly armed to try and battling for third place. Is that softer front tyre, maybe?
Yeah, Miller's got in the third sector. Number 70 close.
Laps at the end of Grand Prix. Here's Fabio Quattararo.
It's all now about the drive over the hill. And it's just about a quarter of a second as we go. That occasionally was Quattararo. Now back. It's all now about the drive over the hill through turn number 6. Having worked so hard to take the lead,
He thinks he's got pace to not only pass Bagnaia, but
he has cracked. We don't see that very often from Pecco Bagnaia. Tyre into garage there.
What a misery.
5 corners very often from Pecco Bagnaia. Tyre into garage there. He did well actually not to run.
It's a little bit early, but as it turns out, Bagnaia just left.
Well, can you believe it?
What a misery.
5 corners later into turn number 13, full lean. And what that now means is Fabio Quattararo has a great chance. 2022, he's 2.3 seconds clear of Jack Miller.
And with only 7 laps to go at that stage, already you were looking at 20 points with his teammate right behind him.
2 DNFs, and they feel that Quattararo is going to get 13 points. But to second place, Miller's got a big buffer then back to Aleix Espargaro. That final place on the podium, Quattararo's gone in hot.
21. We saw the initial move, of course, into Dunlop. She could have cost the factory Ducati man and Bastian. Nobody can match that incredible pace of the victory. It's still very early to assume anything.
Well, it's in his hand in Motogp in 2022. 2.5 seconds he leads so far in 2022. The race winner in Qatar. Fabio Quattararo, as close as he's been for 15, 16 laps, but he has not yet been able to even show.
Quattararo was nowhere near close enough, approaching the done route of Museum Corner, and he's nowhere near close enough. The Aprilia was a disappointing afternoon for him. He looked with Quattararo.
Pecco, I think he's going to be bitterly disappointed, bitterly frustrated. There were 2 in the space of 5 corners, which have put a match. Espargaro will be increasing his advantage over Bagnaia, who'll 2 weeks' time. But what a boost this would be. Pre-credit here to Aleix Espargaro. He's still lapping in the 130. So desperately wants to make it. Qualifies the 3rd KTM crasher of the day. We've already lost Ramos Oliveira trying to go with his teammate, and that's Sparkins behind this young man, Enea Bastianini.
And Maverick Vinales, who, as Matt mentioned, at the end of the first lap for the Spaniard on the Aprilia, but he's at least going to salvage
course for a 3rd win of the season. He's 2.8 seconds clear now, and at the moment he's on course for another dream podium here to break for the Frenchman on that factory Kamar. Frequently so far in this Grand Prix have a home podium in front of those packed grandstands.
13 World Championship points at this stage, knowing that Bagnaia is
got on the gas coming out of turn 7. He now lapping in those high 132s. It's a lonely 6th place. 1 kilometres then of this famous Ducati circuit, then 1 in America. They are his only 2 podium finishes. Brilliant consistency, as always. It's been the biggest reward here for that pressure, because he's 3 seconds. Fabio Quattararo finds something late on here to get Aleix Espargaro look like they're on course for a P3.
Aleix Espargaro to pull that one. He's nowhere near close enough. He's going to have to set
off the podium in your home Grand Prix, 4th placed. The fans have loved the beast here in Le Mans, and now Bastianini wins the 24th 2nd place after the big blunder by his teammate Pecco Bagnaia. On him from Fabio Quattararo. Quattararo misses the home podium. with Gian Zarco on lap 1. Marini 9th, Mav Greens and now Bastian.